I am curious to get. We've had all these conversations recently, like since Canada's junior team lost, about problems with our development and whether we're doing things the right way and where the issues are. And the things I keep getting back from people is like there's a lot of problems and a lot of rot when it comes to coaching. And then the most obvious one for us being that like the prices are insane. It's $400 for a hockey stick right now in this country. I had I've been soliciting from people, the price of playing in the GTHL and other leagues. It's like you're talking about almost $40,000 a year for a family, for kids to play in those leagues here in Toronto, which is just crazy. Complete different world than the one that I grew up in. From your perspective right now, I guess if you could sort of simplify it, what do you see as the biggest problem with the way that we're developing young players in this country right now?
Well, grabbing the best athletes is from the ground up. How are you attracting young hockey players, soccer players, whatever, at the entry level in order to fall in love with the sport and then give them a coaching staff and a roadmap and a runway in order for success from a young age? Everyone, you listen to the argue and then as it grows, how do they, come up through a good program that teaches them all the basics, the essentials, and also keeps it affordable for the kids that cannot afford it. You said it, affordability is the number one thing. I mean, everyone wants to complain about hockey. Hockey is the national sport, in which they're complaining about hockey. I still like it because it means hockey means something. But if you look at any NSO, so any national sports organization body, and you look at the price for basketball, baseball, soccer, it's no different in any sport now. The price, the complaint people keep giving about hockey is equipment. And yes, if you go play into these leagues, especially once you get into U14, U15, U16, families are shelling out, crazy costs of money. Then you hear the complaint about the Canadian kids are all rich kids, yada yada. America is no different. The price of ice time is $500 US in a lot of these areas. The price of ice time across Ontario, probably the average cost of ice time is $250. Some places are upwards of $400 to $600 for an hour of ice, hour and a half of ice. So, and if you look at field time for soccer facilities, especially in the wintertime, it's $150 to $300 for field time. So you could go across any sport. The price is way too much. There's not enough government funding that helps offset costs for families in any sport. Equipment prices are insane. Like you said, $400 sticks. How is a family going to afford, if they break a stick after the 30-day warranty, another $400 stick with $1,200 skates? If you look at cleats, if you look at private training, whether it's hockey, basketball, baseball, whatever it may be, and again, those private trainers have to charge a certain cost because their bare minimum costs are exorbitant as well. So if you look at just the way the world's set up in North America with the capitalistic type of thing, but also how, whether it's inflation and everything going up, it is extremely hard on families. So if you recycle it back to the entry point, how are families entering the sport? Is it feasible for them? And then can they maintain that over time? And it is really hard whether you're in the Canada or the U.S. Just the thing the U.S. does a lot better than us is, first off, they have as many kids, if not more. There's a lot of kids that don't count towards their total, and same in Canada, because they're not Hockey USA or Hockey Canada registered. There's a lot of kids playing hockey. What the U.S. does really well is the way they put coaches in place, especially at a little bit of the older age groups. They put great coaches in place, and then it bleeds into that U.S. national development team. So that U.S. national development program helps offset costs, I believe, for those kids. I think some pay, but in Canada, where we just break off and go into junior, right? And junior, obviously, not so much junior A, but the WHL, OHL, they pay for your stuff now. But the way the U.S. is really condensing the talent as it goes up the pyramid to get the best players to play from a young age, to get them together, to do proper skill development and training, and then get them into NCAA and so on, the U.S. has the money to do it. And they put the money into their programs, whatever it may be, swimming, hockey, baseball, basketball. They put the money into the programs to do it. where Canada just doesn't have that type of money to put into every program. So barrier to entry is always going to be an issue no matter what sport. How do you grab as many kids as you can that love whatever sport they do in order to enter that sport, and the families that need help, how do you get them help in order to maintain that sport for that child? And that's always going to be, it's been a problem. I remember, my parents couldn't afford it. My grandparents had to pay for me in order to play hockey, right? And it's only getting worse, and it's no matter what it is, whether it's groceries to sport. It's only getting worse, but how do you help families offset costs that especially need it, especially if their kid wants to go to be an elite athlete, AAA athlete, in whatever sport they do? How do programs come in to really help offset costs for these families? Because again, everyone wants to blame these organizations, but their cost is exorbitant as well, right? And the cost that they have to pay is crazy as well. So it's a problem across all sport, and you just hope that there's a way one day, especially in Canada, where they at the barrier to entry point, that you can get as many kids into whatever sport they want to play, and then help them come along. But everyone talks about the European model, all this. Well, the European model is their youth programs are owned by a pro program, so those kids can get in and they help get cost offset through that way. Where there's nothing like this here, because we just don't have any youth programs linking to a national program and or a pro program. So it's different, right? Where the U.S. now has it linking to a U.S. national development program. But yes, cost is always going to be an issue, and it's only going to get worse.
Yeah. Chris?
But again, I stress it's not just hockey.
Well, it is, though, because if you look at AAU basketball, that's $4,000 a year. US, but that's $4,000 a year. GTHL hockey, like I said, $40,000 a year. Like it's 10 times the cost.
That might be the odd area, but if you look at most minor hockey organizations, if it's between 4 and 5, and you're not even including in your AAU basketball all your private training sessions.
No, you're not. But I'm not including that number with private training sessions with hockey either, right? Like, and the equipment does matter. Like, again, same thing when I was a kid and I was a young goalie. It was like very much like you have to get a job and you need to buy secondhand equipment, and you need to use the rinks gear for multiple years before you can kind of get this done. And it felt like a big challenge for my parents back then. And it was like a lot of community fundraising in terms of the ways that we were able to even, afford our trips to go play teams that were in Alberta and in BC and in Alaska. But like, my God, it's just, the idea of, you're getting your kid to fall in love with something that is going to potentially cost your family, upwards of $40,000 a year if they're successful at it by the time, they're turning 15 years old. Just, it's tough. And it is different. It's like the equipment and the time and those skill coaches, like just looking at the average prices here, like it's not the same. Hockey is more. Like it just, all these sports
hockey,
are up.
But like my kid plays elite, like he plays AAA, whatever soccer is.
Yep, they're all
soccer
up.
It's all up, and it's a problem across. Yes, you can always say the equipment side adds to the cost, which is correct.
Yeah,
but it's across all sports
for sure.
And that for me is the bigger issue.
Yeah, I agree.
You want as many kids playing sports and being a part of a community and falling in love with it, whether they want to be a pro or they just want to do it to be in the community and have friends. So that to me is always going to be the issue across all sport is the cost. And it's hard.
Yeah, dude, I hate it. Like I said, all I want is for kids to be able to experience this stuff where they get to be kids, that not everything is about making the pros, and that you're doing it for the right reasons, and that it doesn't have to cost you an arm or leg. We're up against it. We got to run. But as always, buddy, thanks for the time. We'll be talking to you soon.
Okay, we'll talk about Cameron and then World Juniors next year.
Okay, next year. All right, see you, buddy. Chris Versteeg of Clever and two-time Stanley Cup champion.
Chris Versteeg and Francois Beauchemin to Los Angeles Kings. Possible deal with Toronto Maple Leafs. In an interesting twist in the NHL trade market, new rumors are emerging about Chris Versteeg and Francois Beauchemin potentially being traded to the Los Angeles Kings. Sources indicate that the Kings, who have been one of the most active teams in recent weeks, are evaluating the possibility of bolstering their defense with Beauchemin, while Versteeg, who brings strong offensive capabilities, could be a key piece in a larger trade. This move becomes even more intriguing considering the Kings' surplus of offensive pieces available for trade, exactly what the Toronto Maple Leafs are looking for to strengthen their roster. It's speculated that with Versteeg included in the deal, the Leafs could be targeting a possible addition like Wayne Simmonds, along with a mid-range draft pick. This move makes sense given Simmonds' struggles this season, as he has yet to find his top form on the ice. To add more drama to the trade talk, there are even whispers that veteran defenseman Tomas Kaberle could be included, opening the door for a potential pursuit of Brayden Schenn. If completed, this move could have a significant impact on reshaping the Leafs lines and adding more depth to the team. Stay tuned for updates to see if these trades come to fruition and how they might shape the future of Toronto and Los Angeles this season. In an interesting twist in the NHL trade market, new rumors are emerging about Kris Versteeg and Francois Beauchemin potentially being traded to the Los Angeles Kings. Sources indicate that the Kings, who have been one of the most active teams in recent weeks, are evaluating the possibility of bolstering their defense with Beauchemin, while Versteeg, who brings strong offensive capabilities, could be a key piece in a larger trade. This move becomes even more intriguing considering the Kings' surplus of offensive pieces available for trade, exactly what the Toronto Maple Leafs are looking for to strengthen their roster. It's speculated that with Versteeg included in the deal, the Leafs could be targeting a possible addition like Wayne Simmonds, along with a mid-range draft pick. This move makes sense given Simmonds' struggles this season, as he has yet to find his top form on the ice. To add more drama to the trade talk, there are even whispers that veteran defenseman Tomas Kaberle could be included, opening the door for a potential pursuit of Brayden Schenn. If completed, this move could have a significant impact on reshaping the Leafs lines and adding more depth to the team. The Kings' situation is complex, as they are in the midst of a transitional period. Their aging roster, which includes a core group that led them to several successful playoff campaigns in the past, has seen some struggles in recent seasons. While there's a clear need for defensive help, Los Angeles may also want to improve their offensive consistency in order to make a deep playoff push. The combination of Beauchemin's defensive reliability and Versteeg's offensive upside could help the Kings balance their lineup. From the Leafs' perspective, this potential deal is about retooling for the future. The team is in a position to compete, but they also need to solidify certain areas on the ice. Adding a player like Wayne Simmonds could provide the grit and scoring touch that the team has been missing. Furthermore, acquiring a mid-range draft pick could help with future team-building efforts, as Toronto looks to remain competitive while still developing young talent. The inclusion of Kaberle in the trade package could be a strategic move for both teams. The veteran defenseman, who has been with the Leafs for a long time, has seen his role diminished in recent seasons. However, his experience and offensive abilities could be a valuable asset for Los Angeles, who could use a steady presence on the blue line to help their younger players develop. The talk surrounding Brayden Schenn's potential involvement in the deal adds an intriguing layer to the negotiations. Schenn, a versatile forward, has shown flashes of brilliance but has been inconsistent at times. If the Leafs are able to land him, it could be a great opportunity for both the player and the team to find success together. Schenn's physicality, two-way game, and leadership could be exactly what the Leafs need to bolster their forward group. While the trade market can be volatile and unpredictable, these rumors suggest that both the Kings and Leafs are preparing for significant changes. For Toronto, this could mark the beginning of a new era, with a focus on adding more experience and depth. For Los Angeles, the trade could be a chance to retool and address some of the weaknesses in their lineup, while still competing for a playoff spot this season. Of course, as with any trade rumors, it's important to remember that these discussions are fluid and can evolve quickly. There are many moving parts in these types of negotiations, and both teams will likely have to weigh their options carefully before making any final decisions. It's also possible that other teams could enter the fray, further complicating the situation. In the coming days, fans of both teams will be watching closely to see if any concrete moves are made. The NHL trade deadline is fast approaching, and teams are scrambling to position themselves for a successful postseason. Whether this rumored deal materializes or not, the possibility of a major trade between the Leafs and Kings will certainly keep fans on edge as the season continues to unfold. The trade talks involving Versteeg, Beauchemin, and potentially Simmonds or Schenn highlight the delicate balance that NHL teams must strike between immediate success and long-term growth. Both the Leafs and Kings are trying to find that balance, and this rumored deal could ultimately serve as a